Hi, good morning. This is 𝐂𝐿 from Overventure.
This is Dan from Vagabond Awake.
In this video, we want to talk about 10 ways how we avoid scam while we're traveling overseas.
Yeah, we travel anywhere from about 6 to 8 countries per year, and we slow travel through cities in each one, and we don't fly back home. And so we're entering new countries all the time, and so we know a lot about this.
So the first one is visa.
Yeah, visa. Before we fly to a new country, we check on the embassy webpage for that country and see if nationals from our country need to get a visa or not. We generally stay away from countries where we need to get a visa. And we look for what's called visa exemption countries. U.S. has 183 or something countries that I can go to. I'm U.S. Without getting a visa, and no visa on arrival, no visa of any kind. Just walk in and they stamp my passport. And 𝐁𝐎 has like almost as many,
175 or 178. I can't remember the number that I can go the country.
Yeah, so we just stay away from countries that require visas. We don't want to go through that unnecessary process, since most countries will let us in. We just make sure they don't require visa.
I think we do some of the country we go when they require visa. Example, there is Vietnam. Vietnam from Malaysia, you can go there for a month without to apply any visa. That's called visa exemption. But for them, you need a visa.
Right.
But the thing is, it's very easy to obtain the visa. We're talking about the visa that we need to be applied, which is the country needs us to submit the police report, your crime report, and your bank account, your bank details, whatever thing from your country. Those countries we will avoid to go because it takes a lot of problem and time to prepare the visa.
Right, and Vietnam, 𝐁𝐎 mentioned, I can go to any travel agency, walk in, and they'll get me not just a flight to Vietnam, but they'll also give me a visa. So that's one of the times that I don't use online booking, because the travel agent will not only book my flight for about the same price, but they'll also get my visa for no extra charge. And so that to me is not a problem. The problems are the ones where you have to walk on carpet and fill out forms, spend money, and do a bunch of nonsense. We don't go to those countries.
So far, visa is have no problem for both of us to travel. The second one is overflight ticket. Overflight tickets is the airline requires you to have it before they give you your boarding pass, because you want to make sure you have an overflight ticket fly out from the country that you go.
And the reason that might sound new to you, if you're a typical traveler and you've just been going on vacations your whole life, is when you go on a vacation, you probably buy a round-trip ticket. And the round trip is an onward flight. It's taking you back from the country you want to enter. It's proof that you're leaving. But if you move forward like we do through the world, and you're buying a one-way ticket, then nowadays, most of the airlines are requiring you to have an onward flight, proving you're leaving that country. And I think it's kind of a scam, because most of the countries don't require it, but if the airline requires it, it's because when you get to the counter, they want to sell you a flight which is way overpriced. And so we recommend getting these things called onward flights. So you just Google the words onward flights, and you can buy one for $10 to $12.
Based on our experience, anything happens when you travel to the next country and the immigration not allow you to go in, the airline have to bring you back to your original country. So they don't want to take a risk of that. That is the thing. And there is a trend nowadays that almost all the airlines that we go, when we want to check in, they will ask us your overflight ticket.
It's not every country, it's not every airline, but it used to only happen to us maybe 1 every 4 countries, and now it's like 3 out of 4 countries. So be careful of that. It's only another $10 or $12. You can have an onward flight. Just book it the day of your flight, because it only lasts for 48 hours. You're basically renting to have your name put in the database for a 48-hour period. So you don't want to buy it 2 weeks in advance. It won't be in there anymore. So.
True.
But if you get there and they don't accept your onward flight, we've had it happen to us once when we tried to go from Dominican Republic back to Panama. They refused it because it wasn't paid for, and so we had to step out of line, and we bought an onward flight from Panama to Mexico, which we were planning on going to anyway. Yes. And so, but always buy it to a nearby country. Don't have it go all the way around the world or something. Your onward flight, all it has to do is leave the country.
Yes, true. Number 3 is the local cash, local currency. How do you deal with that?
We check what the currency exchange rate is before we enter a country. Like right now we're in the Philippines, it's about 55 to 1. So $1 will buy you 55 Philippine pesos. When we land in the airport, we have a $100 bill. And first I go to the ATM and I get money out. I get pesos out. The machines give you enough for a couple days, no problem. But if that doesn't work, I have a $100 bill. I can walk over to an exchange. I know what the rate is, and I can get some pesos in my pocket before I leave the airport.
And to make sure that your $100 bill is clear and clean and no mark, no fall, no tear, and nothing.
Yeah. In the United States, for example, you can take a $100 bill that's torn, has writing on it, it's faded. You can walk in and buy a pair of whatever, clothes, or take it to a restaurant. Everybody accepts it because they know they'll take it to the bank the next day, and the bank will give them a new, nice, crispy one. But when you're outside the United States, they will not accept anything but a perfect $100 bill. It has to look like it was made yesterday, and you don't want to carry around a beat-up 100 when the ATM machine's not working. Yeah,
that's true. It's in all the country, they would only accept a good $100 bill.
Yeah, they have no bank that they can take a shitty $100 bill to, so they need a good one.
Number 4 is the SIM card. Wow, this is very important. This I need to say about that.
Yeah.
Okay, the SIM card. So how you get the SIM card before you arrive in the country, your destination country? You can buy it in the airport and only purchase the minimum package. Don't buy a lot, like they tell you, oh, this is 300 gigabyte internet you can use for a month and blah, 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 and blah, blah. Do not buy that.
Yeah, buy the minimum. And for U.S. citizens, you're one of the last countries in the world where your government doesn't protect you. I can say that because I'm a U.S. citizen. The phones are mostly locked in the U.S. And so that phone you have in your hand, you have to get it unlocked before you leave the U.S. If your carrier won't unlock it, then buy a cheap smartphone, and then you'll have an unlocked phone. You can buy, like Chung said, you can on Amazon you can get a SIM card from most countries before you leave the U.S.
Like your niece, that they bought the SIM cards in U.S. before they entered U.K.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't bother with that because usually I'm not in the U.S. and I can usually get a better deal if I wait till I get to that country and I go into the airport. And if I buy the minimum SIM card, minimum package, once I leave the airport, now I have an operable phone. I can order my Grab or Uber taxi to my accommodations, which we'll talk about next or in a minute. And then I just go to the nearest store. Often there's 7-Eleven or just a local version of a 7-Eleven, and I can upgrade to a new package. If I try to buy that package in the airport, pretty much they're going to rip you off. It'll sell you way more than you need for 2 and 3 times as much.
You almost got scammed.
I've been scammed before. What do you mean? These are real things we know.
Okay, I can tell you the price that the SIM card you bought in the airport is often a higher price, but if you're able to get it like me, we will only buy one SIM card. So for my SIM card, I will buy when I land in a local place. I go to the local store, I pay $1 for a SIM card and get whatever package I want. So it will not more than like $10. It will not more than $10
for the SIM card. Yeah, depends what country though.
SIM card and the package.
Yeah.
But depending on the country.
The SIM card outside the U.S., everything's cheaper. The text isn't cheaper. The data is cheaper if you want to use your phone for a hotspot. Don't leave the U.S. with a card in your phone. You'll get ripped off international fees. You pull that card out of there, turn off your phone. When you land, put in the new SIM card, turn it on. Now you're going to save some money. So that's what we do with SIM card.
Yeah, but my SIM card, I have to say that I feel very good of my country because my Malaysia SIM card, even right now I still carry that. In the emergency, that if I don't have the, when we land in a country that we cannot get a SIM card, I can on my phone and I can purchase a package from my own country, give me roaming, data roaming, you know, so I can use this for a day or 3 days or 7 days. So that is my backup plan. I always have my backup plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when she gets to the airport, if she doesn't like whatever, she can, or it's the day before she leaves and she just ran out of data, she can just get on her phone and buy another day or two package.
Yeah.
But most of the world, you know, for example, they have this thing now that you can buy that's I think it's in Europe and US, called a virtual SIM card, where there's no actual SIM card in your phone. It's very expensive though. It's like buying a prepaid or postpaid package in the US. You don't want to pay $50, $60 a month. We average about $10 to $15 a month for our phones.
Yes.
You don't need that when you're overseas. You don't need to pay $60.
Yes, true. The next one is the airport transportation to go to your hotel.
Right.
So you can use either airport taxi. Airport taxi which is the counter is inside the airport, and they'll give you a real receipt for everything, and they have fare for everything. The second one, if the country allow you to use the Uber, Grab, Bolt, Gojek, which is from the Bali, Bolt is from Thailand, and Maxim, Asia, you know, from Malaysia, and Philippines also you can use Grab. So
yeah, so you can just Google the words, what is the taxi app in Malaysia like Uber in the US or Grab in Southeast Asia, and there'll be all these other ones. You can use a bunch of them, but generally we just stay with the big ones. But sometimes we like Gojek and Max. Sometimes we use other ones.
That's why it's
sometimes they're much cheaper.
That's one is we use when we understand they have it.
Once we learn.
Yeah. So in Southeast Asia we using Grab. Grab is all the Southeast Asia you can use that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then when we arrive there, we learn from a local tell us that you can use this online app. It will be more cheaper.
Right.
That's how. So the theory that we share about this is do not let someone came to you in the airport and tell you that I can offer you the rides to the hotel.
Yeah. They'll just come up to you and say, "Sir, ma'am, do you need a taxi?" Those are anywhere from $30 to $100 a taxi ride. Probably $50 to $100. And that's not like the world is ending, but hopefully you'll get to your destination. Right? These are not official taxis, so we stay away from those. So every time we land in an airport, we save $100 theoretically, because we don't deal with these people coming up. Anytime someone's approaching you when you first land in a country, they may not have your best intention. Their intentions may not be good. So what you want to do is either solve it by going to the official taxi stand, which might be $20, $30 to ride that taxi, whereas if you can use Grab or Uber, it might only be 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, even 2 or 3, depending on how close the place is. And but not all airports allow those in there. So, but stay away from the people coming to you.
Yes, and for you to know, download the Grab, because Grab you can use in most of the Southeast Asia country, and in South America country, we are using Uber. But they also have their country apps. We only use when we arrive in a new place, in new country, we will use the big company like Uber.
Right, to start out with.
They start that way, and then we only recover that we will go to the local and ask what apps that you use in your country.
Right.
Then we will download from over there. We travel in Guatemala, in the Panama, and in the Mexico, Dominican Republic, it's all Uber. It's all Uber.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The next one is number 6. Number 6 is how we find our hotel. First, I would say that we will book hotel in Booking.com, Airbnb, Agoda, in this place for 3 nights. And then we only will be discover the long term. We will talk in a minute. But how we find the location, this is the aspect to say that.
So if you go to Google Maps for the city you're going to and look for the city center, we like to be right in the middle of the city when we first land. Now, airport might be on the outside, but we want to be in the middle of that city because we're going to be discovering in a minute we'll talk about how we find a longer term apartment. But those first 3 to 5 days, we want to be right in the center. How do you find the center of the city? Some cities are so big and complicated. Just look at the Google map, and if you zoom out or zoom in, you'll start to see there's parts of the city towards the center that are almost a tan color. That means there's a lot of foot traffic in those areas and a lot of phones are in that area. That's Google's way of telling you this is near the city center. And so that's a big hint. If you try to stay inside the city center, and you want to book in there, it's going to be a little more money, but it's not ultimately what you'll pay to stay in that place. We stay in places longer term. If we find the perfect place, it's easier to be there. It's cheaper. It'll have the amenities we want, which we're talking about in a minute. But we would like to start in the center.
Yeah, the center, which is be easy for you to go for the restaurant, foods, and everything.
Walking.
Just walking distance. Yeah. So the next one is how we find our 30-day short-term or long-term apartment.
Yeah. So we're slow travelers, but we've also always done it on a budget, which means we're trying to mimic more, not vacation costs where you're in a hotel and all-inclusive and you're going out to these nice restaurants every night and you're buying bottles of wine and you're going on tours and all that sort of stuff. We try to minimize it. We try to live more like a local. So we don't want to pay hotels. We don't want to pay expensive Airbnb apartments. And so what we do once we're in a town and we've figured out areas that we're interested in, often because we walked around or we've just Googled what are the best neighborhoods in the city, and we'll go to those things and we'll walk those areas or ride a bike or maybe rent a scooter, depends on what part of the world we're in. But then we'll locate an area, oh look, cool, there's restaurants here, coffee shops, and we'll go, oh, this is where we want to be. And then we'll walk the neighborhood and we'll get phone numbers often people have rental signs, and then we'll go back to Airbnb and see what's there in that spot, look on booking what's on that spot. 𝐁𝐎 will check the Facebook expat pages, and eventually we'll find something in our price range. And we like to stay in the $300 to $500 a month price range, hopefully less, but not always. And which includes your utilities, your Airbnb, your internet, that's it.
Yes, that's it. Yes. Group. And also I find in Booking.com, and then like the hotel name or the homestay name or whatsoever, and then I Google that. And then to find out they have the Facebook page. So they have a number, I can call them and ask them what's the price, because if I book direct from them, the cost of the payment will be less. So that's how we found that also.
And then once we find the 2 or 3 we're interested in, we jump back on the scooter, we actually go inside the apartment and say, does it have a frying pan? How fast is the internet?
We make, when we arrive, we check the internet speed, and then the hot water, hot shower, and the kitchen. This is the 3 things that we need.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we bargain with the owner face to face. No one's getting a commish.
Yes.
And so that's how we get that extra $50 to $100 a month off the local prices.
Number 9, how we find our food: a restaurant, the public market, a grocery store.
Yeah. Well, 𝐁𝐎's kind of the expert at this. She's a foodie. I love great food too. I love to cook, but she's an expert at finding great restaurants.
Well, I found all these restaurants from the Google Map. And it's called Google Map Review. So I put restaurant near me, best restaurant near me, vegetarian restaurant near me, whatever best the local food. I will Google that because I need to eat some local food. So I'll Google that near me, best blah 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 near me, and that's how I found the restaurant and everything. And I read the review, and I read all the review. I read the good review, the bad review, see how is it, because a good restaurant doesn't mean that they always have a good review, but it depends on personal taste. Something that I say is very delicious for me, but for them, he will not like it. So it's very depending, but. Mostly it's good restaurant that I can find. Yeah,
and 𝐁𝐎, I'm a vegetarian, and 𝐁𝐎 is, she'll eat pork or chicken, fish. And so in our reports, we do reports on every city we go to. It includes the restaurants we loved, which ones are vegetarian, which ones are not. And so you can get, and also we give you an idea of price, depending on how price conscious you are.
Yes.
We pretty much try to stay on the lower end, but high quality, and that means local, a local owner that's not like a chain. It's just like a family little restaurant, often little, 4, 5, 10 tables, not the big ones.
Yes.
And they're often near where we're staying.
Oh, market, same thing. I Google public market near me, and then that's how I got the public market, the grocery store near me. That's how I got it.
Yeah, so when you're in a retired cheap country anywhere in the world, there's two kinds of places where we buy fight. There's grocery stores,
yes.
and there's open air public markets or
yes.
public markets.
Mm-hmm.
We always try to go to a public market because that's where you have the fresh fruits and vegetables, farmers direct, and
cheaper price,
yes. And quality too is
yes.
often better.
Yes.
Or you can go to what I call expat grocery stores, which just means that it's the kind of things that Americans or Europeans, they're used to buying in a grocery store that has vinyl floors, air conditioning, huge selection, and they're willing to pay a little more. They're used to paying a little more. So we stay away from that because it often can easily cost double what you can get in an open air market. So those are two kinds you have available to you. Just be aware of both. You'll be able to find the healthy stuff in the open air market and some of the packaged processed foods. They probably shouldn't be eaten anyway, but other stuff like shampoo, toothpaste, that'll be in your expat grocery store.
Okay, so the next one and the last one is the safety.
Yeah, safety. Yeah, so I actually have a whole report on safety, but the bottom line is common sense. Whatever city you're from in the world where you grew up, you know which neighborhoods are going to tend to be safer than others. The ones that tend to be safer, you're going to feel more comfortable being in those later into the evening, maybe even late at night. And the ones that feel a little sketchy to you, you're going to try to only be there in the light if you have to be there at all. And so when you first get to a new place, you don't really understand the layout. So you have to take your time to really get to know where you are and trust the hair on the back of your neck. And just start out being more conservative, and then over time, as you get to know the place, you can be a little bit more, take more risk as you get to know more.
I would say that most the tourist area are safe, but you still need to use your common sense, like don't flat out your money, don't show people you have expensive camera and then you walk by yourself alone in the dark alley. Yeah.
So just don't, use some common sense.
Use some common sense.
For safety.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more I've written about safety, but this is a video that we don't want to go over to like an hour or something. So.
Yeah, and so far we are very good. Like Dan always say, we have good karma on our traveling. We do. Because that we have all this on plan, that how we get our taxi, apartment, visa, immigration, Overflight Ticket. So it's make our travel very smooth. And we don't hear that much. We don't get what other people have in their travel.
Yeah, so we've been doing this long enough where we see the trouble coming our way, and so we stay away from it. And we're just hoping some of these ideas will get you along the travel path a little further and with running into less trouble. So we slow travel the world. We've been doing it now 6 years, right? Yeah. And so what we just talked about are ways to not get scammed or ways not to spend too much. But there's some other problems that we travel the world that are more emotional. Or Chung just did another video called "The Biggest Challenges of 6 Years of Slow Travel," and we'll put it up here. She'll put it up here so you can watch it. You can find out about slow travel.
Thank you so much for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.